Right then, Celtic rounded off their trip to Portugal in the best possible way with a solid 2-0 win over the reigning Portuguese champions Sporting. And while it might have just been a pre-season friendly, there was plenty to take from it. Plenty. Like a few weak concerns and some brilliant performances that will no doubt give Brendan Rodgers a bit more confidence heading into the season proper. Now we'll get into the wider stuff in a bit. Transfers, quotes, fade a gaffer, squad depth, all that. But first, let's talk about the match itself, because honestly, there was a lot to enjoy. Hatate opened the scoring with a Colmasiu-like penalty. And young Luke McCowan capped it off with a gorgeous counterattack goal that had a wee bit of messy about it, if we're being honest. Slick movement, composure, proper finish. But what stood out most wasn't just the goals, it was the structure. The intensity and the general feel that this Celtic side's starting take click. The starting 11 had a familiar look, and for all the chatter about who's in and who's out, it's probably the strongest lineup we could have put out at this stage. Kasper Schmeichel and goal back four, with Ralston on the right, Tierney on the left, and Murray and Scales in the middle. In the midfield, you have McGregor holding Negron in his deeper role, but with license to roam, and Hatate being Hatate, buzzing about linking play and pressing like a man possessed. Up top, it was Eda through the middle, Maeda on the left, and James Forrest on the right, rolling back the years a bit. And right from the off, you could see what Brendan's been working on in training. The passing was sharp. The shape was organized, and even under heavy pressure from Sporting's press, we played out from the back with real confidence. There was a moment early on where they had 4, maybe 5 players pressing us inside our own box, and yet we still passed through it. Schmeichel to Murray. Murray finds Negron, and suddenly we're away on the counter. That's the kind of stuff we want to see this season. Composure under pressure, bravery on the ball. Speaking of Negron, the lad looks like he's been playing in this team for years. Calm, composed, and constantly showing for the ball. He and Hatate looked properly in sync, and with McGregor behind them dictating things, it felt like a midfield that could dominate most teams in the league. And that's before we even bring in guys like Bernardo Engels or McCowan off the bench. Honestly, seeing Negron and Hatate link up is exciting. You can imagine the sort of chaos they'll cause once the season's in full swing and they've got that extra bit of sharpness. Now Maeda, this man's built different. After running like a madman for 70 minutes, what does he do when he comes off, sits down for a breather? No. The guy starts doing press-ups and sit-ups on the sideline. Come on. That's just mental. But it shows you the mindset. He doesn't stop. It's infectious. As for the subs, most of the starting team got around 67 minutes, which is about right for this stage. Kasper came off at halftime for Sinisalo. Maeda was replaced by Johnny Kenny, and to be fair to Kenny, he put in a solid shift. Contributed to both goals, showed good movement, and looked sharper than we've seen him before. There was talk that Maeda maybe came off with a wee limp, nothing confirmed, but hopefully nothing serious. The team finished with a mix of youth and fringe players, Sinisalo in goal, McPherson, Donovan Trusty, and Inamura at the back. In midfield, it was Yor McCowan and Engels with Tilio Yang and Kenny up front. A lot of B-team names in there, but they held their own, kept the rhythm, and that's a good sign. Shows you there's real depth building, even if the club still needs to add a bit more quality in certain areas. Brendan Rodgers came out after the match and called it an outstanding performance, and to be fair, he's spot on. He did mention that we maybe didn't capitalize enough on the spaces we found, and that's true. But in terms of build-up pressing and general control, Celtic looked good. Very good, actually. The kind of good that makes you remember this team's still got the bones of a title win inside. Schmeichel, by the way, looked right at home. Calm under pressure, good distribution, and that leadership aura. Even if he didn't have much to do shot-stopping-wise, just having that experience back there makes a difference. Let's talk a wee bit more about Luke McCowan. That goal, he scored magic. But beyond that, his overall play when he came on was composed, confident, and clever. He looks like a player who believes he belongs. Same goes for Negron, honestly. Early days and all that. But there's a real chance he's going to become a key figure this season. Already looks like Brendan trusts him, and he's settling faster than most. His positioning, awareness, and calmness on the ball stood out. You'd expect him to be in the midfield 3 come the first competitive fixture. One of the biggest positives was just how comfortable we looked under Sporting's press. That was a proper test. And it's easy to forget that this is a Sporting side that just won their league and are weeks ahead in terms of fitness. They didn't roll over. They came at us. And yet we held firm. Dane Murray deserves a shout here. Big presence, tidy on the ball, and seems to have bulked up a bit since we last saw him. He made a cracking tackle in the first half and didn't look phased at all. It's early, but he might be forcing himself into real contention for minutes, especially if we don't bring in another center back soon. You can see a lot of these young lads are benefiting from the preseason. They're growing into the system, getting confidence, and Brendan's giving them real chances. It's refreshing, and it's smart as well, because we're going to need everyone this season, especially with Europe around the corner. Now the Edda conversation. This isn't a bash, but you got to call it like it is. He had a tough night, missed a couple of big chances, and it wasn't just the finishing, it was the link-up play as well. Loose touches, poor decisions, and at times he looked off the pace. Brendan made some pretty direct comments after the match too. Said Ada needs to come alive, that he's got to anticipate and move with more conviction in the box. That he can't afford to be caught thinking, at this level. That's strong stuff from the manager, even if he did temper it by saying it's still early in preseason. Thing is, Ada's a weird one. He'll frustrate you for 90 minutes and then pop up and score 20 goals over a season. But you look at those misses against Sporting and you wonder, can we rely on him in Europe? In those moments where you only get one clear chance, you need someone ruthless. And right now, Ada doesn't look like that player. Not yet, anyway. Forward in the eighth. Good news is we've got time. But the bad news is Champions League qualifiers are around the corner, and this squad, while talented, still feels thin in key areas. An injury to Carter Vickers or Alistair Johnston, and suddenly the defense looks light. One more knock to a winger, and we're maybe starting Marco Tilio in a key fixture. And no disrespect to Tilio, but he's not in Brendan's plans, is he? You can see it in how little he's featured. We'll get into the transfer chat next, but just on Kieran Tierney, he's still getting up to speed, no question. But even at 70%, you can see what he brings. The ball carrying, the confidence, the ability to break lines with his dribbles. It's a totally different dynamic to what Greg Taylor offered. Taylor was great at what he did, but Tierney just adds another level. Champions League nights at Celtic. Park with Tierney bombing down that left eye. We'll take that. And one final shout in this bit. Johnny Kenny. That was maybe the best we've seen him in a Celtic shirt. Contributed in both goals, worked hard, pressed well, and looked sharp. He's still got a long way to go before he's a regular, but if he keeps grabbing these chances, he might carve out a proper role for himself. The second goal especially was lovely stuff. Great movement, clever little shift of the hips to throw off the defender, and then the assist for McCowan to finish. Beautiful football. Now let's get into the rest of it. The transfers, the manager's updates, the state of the squad, and a wee bit of honest reflection about where Celtic stand right now. Because while that performance against Sporting gave us plenty to be optimistic about, it also highlighted a few areas where we're clearly still short. And Brendan Rodgers himself seems to ken that. So after the match, Rodgers spoke to the media and confirmed something that had been swirling about for a few days. Shen Yamada is indeed coming to Celtic. The Japanese forwards already said his farewells to the Kawasaki Frontale support. And there was even a banner with a Scotland flag on it at his final match. If he turns up at Ibrox after that, it'll be some laugh. But nah, he's ours. Brendan said he's expecting Yamada to have his medical shortly, and then he'll get assessed by the coaching team. Said he's a strong lad, got intensity and a high work rate, which is exactly the sort of profile we've been lacking up front since Kyogo left. Rodgers mentioned this might be the first of a few new faces aimed at replacing the goals we've lost with Kyogo and Nicholas Cohn both away. It's no secret we've been trying to bring in firepower, but the way it's being done has left a lot of fans scratching their hides. You got Osman, who's a big unknown but looks promising. You've got Johnny Kenny, who's grafting but still raw. And now Yamada, who's older than Osman but still largely untested. At this level, if we bring in another striker on top of that, which seems likely, that's 5 center forwards at the club. Feels like a scattergun approach. What's the plan here, really? Is the club hoping that one of them just clicks and becomes the next Kyogo by chance? Because so far, none of them feels like a nailed-on first choice. Brendan said that Yamada has got a bit more experience than Osman, and that even though he's being brought in for assessment, he's expected to contribute immediately if he settles. But again, that's a big if. There's talent there, aye, But talent without time isn't much use if you're chucked into a Champions League qualifier after 1 week of training. And on that note, the qualifiers are closing in fast. We've got friendlies, we've got time on the pitch, but we still need those signings through the door. And they need to bed in quick. Brendan knows it. We all know it. The fear is that we're leaving it late again and we'll be scrambling come the crunch. The comparison the Musonda type signings from years back keeps popping up. Last minute panic moves that don't really work out. We can't afford that this time. Also, just close the door on one rumor that won't go away. Brendan confirmed that Odson Edwards no on the radar. End of. Whatever fantasy reunion some folk had in mind, it's no happening. There's also the situation with Lewis Palmer. Brendan's words were pretty clear. Palmer will probably go out on loan. And to be honest, that's not surprising. He's not back with the team, hasn't featured at all this preseason, and doesn't seem to be in Brendan's thoughts. Same goes for Kwan, by the way. He didn't even make the 40-man squad that traveled. To Portugal, he's out the door. Yang, on the other hand, is an interesting one. Brendan says there's interest in him from other clubs, but that he'd prefer to keep him around, saying he's been a decent squad player. So that one might go either way, but it doesn't sound like we're actively trying to shift him. This brings us to another concern. Squad depth. We're one injury away in multiple positions from a full-blown crisis. If Forrest gets a knock, we're potentially looking at Tilio starting on the right wing in a must-win match. And again, that's no slight on Tilio as a player. He's got quality, but he's not ready. He's not even in Rodgers' main rotation, and you could see that again against Sporting. Came on, had a chance to square it to Kenny, and just made the wrong call. Those are the fine margins. If he's going to stay fine, but he needs minutes probably out on loan. Hibs have taken a few Aussies lately. Why not send him there, let him grow? Brendan also touched on the idea of bringing in players for now and players for development. That's all well and good, but we need to get that balance right. Right. Now it feels like we're signing projects when we need proven players. Europe is unforgiving, and if we're not clinical in the market, it could cost us big. Another issue is centre-back. Carter Vickers coming back will make a massive difference. Of course, and Alistair Johnston as well. But imagine for a moment that CCV picks up a knock. What's the plan? Are we really throwing Dane Murray into a Champions League qualifier? Again, no slight on Murray. He's been excellent in preseason. Looks like he's come on massively. But he's still young, still learning, and we're short of experienced options beside him. Scales has done a job. Trusty looks promising, but there's no real depth. We've been here before. One injury and suddenly the whole thing feels fragile. It's the same with the wingers. Jota's gone, Kuhn's gone, Palmer's likely off. Yang might be unsettled. So who's left? James Forrest, bless him, is still ticking away and had a great game against Sporting, but he's not going to be able to carry that position for a whole season. He's older now, he's had injuries, and we need to manage his minutes. If he pulls a hamstring in the next fortnight, who plays on the right, that's no good enough. That needs fixed before we face serious opposition. It just feels like for every strong point in the team, there's a soft underbelly not far beneath it. The midfield is arguably the best it's looked in years. McGregor, Hatate, and Negron is a top trio. You've got Bernardo Engels and McCowan pushing behind. That's solid. That's where the identity of the team is starting to show. But around them, we've got patchwork solutions. The goalkeeper position looks settled. Casper brings a calmness that's been missing. Defense needs reinforcing. The wings are thin. Striker's still a mystery box. And the club can't rely on the idea that it'll come good. We've done that before and paid for it. On a more positive note, you can tell the players themselves are feeling good. All the negativity flying around the fan base, rightfully so given the lack of communication from the club, it hasn't seeped into the squad. You saw it on the pitch against Sporting. The energy, the pressing, the movement. These lads are up for it. They're buying into Rodgers' system, and that gives you hope. Benjamin Negron's face lit up when the interviewer mentioned the Newcastle game at Celtic Park. You can tell he's buzzing to play there. He's going to be a proper fan favorite if he keeps this up. And having someone with that kind of attitude, that blend of composure and flair, it gives you a platform. We've got Newcastle at the weekend. Should be a decent test. 10,000 away fans coming, which is mad for a friendly but fair play to them. It would be nice to have some proper atmosphere back at Celtic Park. Even in a preseason setting, you know the place will be bouncing more than some of the half-empty neutral stadiums we've seen so far. These are the games that sharpen you up. And players like McCall and Kenny, and even the likes of Murray, they'll grow from this. Still, the elephant in the room remains: the squad isn't ready. Not yet. There's time, but the clock's ticking. If we want to have a serious go at Europe, if we want to walk into that first Champions League qualifier with belief and not dread, we need to sort the business now. No last-minute rush. Get the quality in. Let them gel. Brendan Rodgers has been here before. He knows what it takes, but he can't do it without the tools. And right now, he's a few short. Let's hope the board sees that and acts before it's too late. More transfer updates to come soon, and we'll keep an eye on who's staying, who's going, and who might yet surprise us this preseason. But for now, all eyes on Newcastle at Celtic Park this weekend. Should be tasty. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers are growing louder around the east end of Glasgow as speculation swirls that Brendan Rodgers could be on his way out of Celtic Park. While there's been no official word from the club hierarchy, sources close to the situation suggest the Northern Irishman's second spell in charge might be reaching an abrupt and unexpected conclusion. Roger, who returned to the hoops with fanfare and lofty expectations following Ange Postecoglou's departure, has found this season far more challenging than many anticipated. While trophies were expected, the football on the park has often lacked the dynamism and cutting edge that defined his first tenure. Add to that rumored tension behind the scenes and murmurs of dressing room unrest. And it's no surprise that tongues around Glasgow are wagging. Insiders hint that the board's patience may be wearing thin, particularly after a series of underwhelming performances and European disappointments. While Rodgers remains a popular figure among some sections of the support, others feel the spark is missing. And in a city where success is not just demanded but expected, a slip in form can quickly turn into a full-blown crisis. The timing of the rumor is curious. With the transfer window still open and key fixtures looming, if the club is considering a change, questions abound over who might step in and whether a mid-season shakeup would do more harm than good. Still, with whispers growing by the day, don't be surprised if the coming weeks bring more than just new signings. As always in Glasgow, nothing stays quiet for long, and in the fishbowl of Scottish football, a whiff of uncertainty is all it takes for the rumor mill to kick into high gear. For now, Brendan remains in charge. But if the noise is to be believed, that may not be the case for much longer. Hello, fan! Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.